Hello everyone and welcome back to my Gintama arc review series, where I am currently in the process of reviewing every single Gintama arc in order. I honestly quite stupidly didn't realize beforehand that if an arc has 2 manga chapters, it'll most likely be 1 episode, so I just wanted to rephrase that and remind you all that I am only reviewing the anime arcs. I'll eventually get to those someday, but for now let's just stick to what I've been doing. Today we're going over the 3rd arc of the anime, the Infant Strife arc, which covers 4 manga chapters and 2 anime episodes. This arc has got to be one of the funniest arcs so far, utilizing Gin's child doppelganger as a great comedy backboard. And yes, while this arc is quite hilarious, it also introduces us to a huge threat, Nizo the Butcher, while also telling a nice story during it. I'm Kazu Trash, and welcome to my Gintama Infant Strife arc review. In the first scene, we witness a woman suspiciously dropping off a baby next to Otose's snack shop during the night. In a ridiculous coincidence, the baby looks exactly like Gin, who couldn't help but notice him after leaving the house. In denial, Gin constantly reassures himself over and over it is not his, until he becomes so damn loud, Otose wakes up and kicks him in the back because of how early it is. Everyone in the building swiftly gathered near the bar. Pretty much all of them belittle Gin, stating how rotten he is before warming up to the kids super fast. Kagura also gave him a name earlier, Silver J. Fox, which is honestly my favorite, so I'm just going to be referring to him as that from now on. Before the situation could get any more out of control than it already has, Gin grabbed Silver and ran as fast as he could until he happened to meet Sogo snoozing on the job. I think this is actually the first time we've ever seen Sogo without Hichikata or Kanzo. Huh. Anyway, since Sogo's a member of the police, Gin decides to leave Silver with him, but Sogo doesn't believe it's not Gin's kid for a second, so that plan doesn't work. After that, he met Otai and Sachan. The latter decides to fight Otai after a misunderstanding that she was the mother. Gin tried to escape during the ruckus, but Otai quickly threw him in the river for trying to get away. He drifted along alone, I suppose, and then he picked up Silver later? Or Silver just wasn't in that scene earlier? Anyway, let's just ignore the baby for a little bit, cause then he came face to face with Nizo the Butcher once he got on land. Nizo the Butcher was, or is, what? I'm just not gonna say anything else. A blind swordsman who has honed his sense of smell to a superhuman level. After briefly exchanging a sword slash with Gin, Nizo lets him get away since it's no fun fighting a one-armed opponent. Meanwhile, the boy's grandfather, Hashida Kahe, visited Otose's place in hopes of finding Silver, but he was just a little bit late. The mother, however, was there and had come to pick Silver back up. Right in front of everyone, he slapped her and demanded to know the location of Kanchishiro. So yeah, no more Silver. I'm gonna call him Kanchishiro from now on because that's his actual name. In the next scene, Katsura shows up and lets Gin know Hashida Kahe is a dangerous man who utilizes exclusionist Ronin to assert and gain power. And following that, we discover Kagura and Shinpachi are working undercover in Hashida's tower, the Hashidaya. Along with them, we also learn Hasegawa is working here as a janitor, so they team up and try to uncover the reason the woman left Kanchishiro at the odd jobs. While eavesdropping on a torture session, Nizo notices the trio and rams them through the door. Everyone in the torturing room, I suppose it's called, points their swords towards them, and the episode concludes. Something I like about Sorachi's writing is his ability to make characters feel human. I mean, yeah, Okada Nizo is a highly skilled murderer, but since he relies on his sense of smell so much, he has a nose refresher and uses it constantly. And I think little details like that are pretty cool. Kagura and the gang managed to briefly escape, but since Nizo could pinpoint their location almost instantly, the chase ensued on the rooftop. After falling off onto a lower level of the rooftop, they lose their pursuers yet again, and we finally get an explanation about the situation at hand from Ofusa, the mother of Kanchishiro. Growing up, she was from a poor family, so she was sent to work as a servant at the Hashidaya. Her job was to take care of Hashida Kahe's son, Kantaro, who was sickly and bedridden. He was still well enough to make elaborate pranks though, as his introduction was literally him tricking Ofusa into thinking he spit up blood. Oh, Kantaro, I love you already. Over the time she and Kantaro spent together, they grew attracted to one another. One day, he told Ofusa he desired to live like a cherry blossom, and wanted to spend his last days living the best life he could, instead of eventually withering away inside his birdcage of a room. 6 months after that, the couple decided to fulfill his dream and ran away from the Hashidaya. They stayed at Ofusa's place and lived happily, not ever after though. It's not said how long they lived like this, but time passed and his illness eventually inevitably became worse. He couldn't get out of bed and was breathing very heavily at this point. When he was in this state, Kahe found them and brought Kantaro back home. Kantaro and her sadly weren't allowed to see each other until his passing. Actually, I'm not even sure if Kahei let her see the body. Maybe not, I don't even know. Anyway, Kahei now had lost his only son, so he had his eye on Kanchishiro as his heir as a result. And now that's where this all comes together. She runs from them, drops Kanchi off at the odd jobs, and well, you know the story from there. So after some more chasing, they end up at a bridge in the Hashidaya building where Kahei had them trapped. It's here where Gin finally shows up again with Kanchishiro tied to his back, Oppo in hand. But before he could get very far, Nizo also bursts in. Before we get into the actual fight, I just want to say Gintoki did not hold back with the one-liners in this scene. We received some brilliant lines such as, Gintoki never disappoints, man. So where was I again? Oh, right. During the duel, Gin destroys Nizo's sword and knocks him out while taking some moderate damage to himself. Next, we receive some more backstory. When Kantaro was born, Kahei and his wife received the terrible news that their son would only live for a third of a healthy person's life. After learning this, they decided the only solution was to make their son 3 times happier than a normal kid. His wife passed away a few years later, and not wanting to lose anyone else, Kahei went against their original wish and locked Kantaro up like a bird in a cage, desperately and helplessly scouring the world for a cure. Alas, Kahei failed in his quest for the cure when Kantaro too eventually passed away. It's easy to see why Kahei is in the state of mind that he is. Kahei then muttered as Ofusa confronted him, "I've lost everything. I couldn't keep any of my promises after all." Ofusa then kindly told him, "Kanshishiro is my child, but he's also your grandson, so the next time you visit my house, it won't be as the master of the Hashidaya, but as a grandfather who loves his grandson." Kahei then dropped the act and whimpered in front of his very forgiving daughter-in-law. The arc ends with Gintoki and Kanshishiro promising to share drinks with one another once he's old enough, which acts as a cute conclusion. The infant Strife arc was just as hilarious as it was heartwarming. I adore Kanshishiro to bits, and I really wish he came back at some point. All the new cast members are great. I initially really didn't like Kahei very much, but Sarachi proved my tiny brain wrong, and now, well, I can't say I hate him. Another highlight to mention is Nizo. I love Nizo, and it's cool to see him being introduced way before the Benizakura arc even happens. He was the most threatening presence yet, and he will be again soon. The ending to the arc, in particular, was terrific. If there's anything Gintama never disappoints in, it's the endings, which are always perfectly touching. With all that being said, today's rating will be an 8 out of 10, which is where I'm going to wrap up my Infant Strife arc review. Next time, we'll be carrying our way to the Mother arc, where the Yorozuya become hosts for a day. And I guess their mom comes or something. I honestly forget this arc a lot. So yeah, I guess we'll see. Thank you so much for watching. Please press subscribe if you haven't already, like or dislike, and leave your thoughts and opinions on the Infant Strife arc in the comments below. That's about all I had to say, so I'll see you next time.